everyone, welcome back to my vlog. I'm Robin, or a Hobbit's reading this, and this week we're gonna start new audiobooks. We're gonna start February's TBR after we wrap up January's TBR, and we're just gonna hopefully get a lot of reading done. Hey everyone, so it's Tuesday night. I was gonna film this morning and then I just totally forgot. I ended up reading about like 80 pages of To Be a Jew yesterday, so I have about 100 pages left, which I'm gonna try to knock out as much of that as I can tonight because I still need to finish High Fidelity. Upping my reading goal for the year to, what did I move it to 108 books, which is the average of 9 books a month, which, like, I can do. Apparently not if I'm reading nonfiction. I know I've complained about it a couple times, and I feel bad, because it's a decent book. I would have the same complaint about any nonfiction book, quite honestly. So, that's sort of, that's what it is. So I will hopefully finish, I won't finish it tonight. It'd be nice if I did, but I won't. But I did start listening to Water for Elephants because while I haven't filmed my February TBR yet, I'm going to do it now. I have already put Water for Elephants on my TBR list, and so whether or not it is in the game, which I'm going to try to put it into the game, it's going to be on my TBR because when my best friend really wants me to read it and has been asking me to read it for over a year now because they saw that I had it and they said it was really good and that they really enjoyed it, and they kind of poked at me. They're like, you said you would read this book, and I'm like, yeah, it's on my list, and they're like, you've been saying that for a year. I'm like, dang, all right. I'll read it in February. So I started listening to it. It's about this guy named Jacob. His parents die in a sudden car accident, and he obviously doesn't handle this. I don't think there was anything wrong with how he handled it. I think it was very realistic, actually. But he can't handle it. And so he sort of, like, runs away from his life and joins the circus. And that's about what I know. I've listened to about 2.5 hours today. I'll listen to more tomorrow. But I'm enjoying it. I'm not a huge fan of the older Jacob narrator because there are two. So there's one for older Jacob, there's one for 23-year-old Jacob. And the older one it's just a little hard to understand him because he does sound older and his voice is more rough, and so it's just a little bit hard to follow sometimes, but it's not that bad. So yeah, that's what's going on, and I'm gonna film my TBR, and then I'm gonna jump into reading and see how far I can get. So wish me luck. Okay, I wanted to film this real quick before I forgot again, because I was like, oh, I should film this morning because I finished a book, and then I just went and did something else. It's now like 2 in the afternoon. So I finished reading To Be a Jew. I had like 40 pages left this morning. I'm still going to count it as having read it in January because I read most of it in January, but yeah, so that means I read 8 books in January, which I'll have a separate video for the wrap up and talking about like statistics and, summary of my thoughts and everything like that. But To Be a Jew was a slog. I want to say like mostly because it's a different branch of Judaism than me, so like there are some things where it's kind of like, oh well, that's not that's not really how we do it, but that's cool for you guys. And B, not only have I read half of that book already, but I also already knew a lot of the information, so it wasn't, I didn't have a lot of like intrigue to keep reading it, which is why I didn't read it for like a week, which is why I had to like scramble this last week and read just like so much of it. So it is well written, and I think for an intro to Judaism book, especially for an intro to conservative Judaism, I think it's pretty good. It is a little dated. The copy I have was published in 91, I believe. So, yeah. I gave it 3 stars. I think if I had finished it in 2018, when I first started reading it, which was also when I was converting, I think I finished converting in 2018. Yeah. I think if if I had finished reading it then, it would have gotten a like higher rating, because I would have been like, wow, this is so informative. And like, it is informative. It just wasn't engaging me because a lot of the information it was giving I already know. So yeah, so that's just my own personal rating. I don't necessarily think that's a reflection on it. I think honestly, like, it's just really dry in some parts, and some parts where I'm like, because I'm a different branch that is more individualistic, as far as like choice and what you subscribe to, some of the parts felt a little judgy, even though it's not, but like, you know, it's fine. There are certain expectations for every branch of any religion. There are certain expectations, and if you don't meet that for a certain branch, you look at different branches, and that's fine. So yeah, so that those are my thoughts about the book. I do want to finish reading High Fidelity, even though, you know, it'll be like a February book. But I do have 11 other books I need to read this month. So I don't quite know what I'm going to do. I'm like 50 pages into it. It might be 300, like maybe. But I think I can read it pretty quickly. I think I'll probably just still try to read it and just be very chaotic as usual. But otherwise, we're gonna work on my to-do list, because as always, you know, later in the week it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Monday is the day where it's just like kind of relaxed. But I will mostly work from home tomorrow. I do have to go to the office for like one meeting, which is a little silly considering how far I drive. But it's fine. It's fine. I have no reason to make it virtual, really, besides like saving me time. But the fact that I'm gonna drive means that I will listen to pretty much 2 more hours of Water for Elephants, which I am enjoying, by the way. Like, my friend that recommended it has good taste. I trust them, and I'm enjoying it. It's really interesting, sort of learning about the different aspects of working in a circus, which I hadn't considered before. Not that I would ever I would never go to a circus, for various reasons. One of which is that I'm scared of clowns, and it's just not my thing. But I never really thought about like all the different parts of it, and so that's really interesting to learn about, as well as just like the story in general. So I'll go to the office for like one meeting, but that'll get me 2 hours of, you know, listening time, and then I'll come home and have more time to work on doing like various to-do list things. And I'm rambling now, so I'm gonna go. Hey everyone. Guess what day it is? It's Monday. So I don't remember last time I filmed. Thursday? When I finished To Be a Jew? That's probably right. Okay. Look, I had a rough weekend. It was my best friend's birthday yesterday, and she passed away like 3 years ago. So that was harder than I was anticipating. And I got like really anxious on Saturday, and so yeah, it just wasn't like generally a good weekend. So I didn't really film much. I did some reading. I have about 3.5 hours left of Water for Elephants. So I'm like 70% through. I'm enjoying it. There is like, I was thinking something about one of the characters. One of the characters of the book is like so obviously a villain that like I want him to suffer. Like he's a horrible person. So I kind of know, at least I assume, what's going to happen at the end of the book. Like I think this character is going to die, which I'm like, great. But part of me wonders, like, because the main character, Jacob, has very much a hot and cold response to this character. Like when this character is being like so obviously evil, like Jacob's like, yeah, I hate that person. But this evil character is also like manipulative, and so we're at a part in the book where he's being like really kind and thoughtful and genuine. So everyone is sort of responding to that, be like, oh, this character's great. And even Jacob, like the part where I just left off yesterday was that he was warming up to this character again, and I'm like, oh, no, it's an act, my man. It's an act. Don't fall for it. So yeah, I do like it though. I like Jacob a lot. I can understand him a lot. You know, he's just trying to figure things out. And he really cares about the animal because he's the circus vet. He really cares about the animals. They have an elephant, and he's like learning about her, and he's like kind of enamored with her, and I get it. So I like Jacob a lot. I like the love interest. She seems also very caring. We just need to get rid of the evil dude. But yeah, so I'm like 30% left. And so I'm kind of like, all right, well, something's gonna happen. Like, because there's like a prequel at the beginning of the book. Or not a prequel, a prologue at the beginning of the book that is a flash forward at that point. And so I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna get to that at some point in the next 3.5 hours. I'm very curious to see how that happens. I kind of think it's gonna happen really soon. So I said this several times already. I'm enjoying it, but I'll probably finish it probably Wednesday morning. So there's that. And then I don't know what I'm gonna listen to next, but we'll see. Other than that, I finished To Be a Jew. And then I started reading the Moor's account, which I have to read for my post-colonial literature class. And the class focuses specifically on post-colonial literature in Latin America. And so the Moor's account is kind of perfect because it is about a Black slave that is brought over by his Spanish master to Florida, or La Florida, as it is called at the time, and they are conquering indigenous lands. But it's from the perspective of the slave. And so it's really interesting because you're seeing someone who has been conquered already. His land has been conquered. And his memories of what life was like before that happened, and now that he has entered into servitude, because for him it was voluntary to help the rest of his family, but he's brought over to this land that is actively being conquered, and so he's seeing, you know, these Native Americans who are viewed as savages because they're different, and he's seeing the exact same thing that happened to his land happen here, and he has a lot of conflicting feelings. Most of his feelings are empathy, but it's really interesting to read about. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm only, let's see, like 85 pages in. I read most of that last night because I had a discussion post that needed to be done for it. But I will continue reading that today. I think it'll be a fast read. The format is a little interesting. There's technically no dialogue. There's no quotation marks. But it's very much like blah 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 blah. He said, there's dialogue, but it's not stereotypical dialogue. So which is making me have all sorts of feelings because I'm also in an intro to literature class, so we're looking at what the format of a work is saying, and so it's I have lots of thoughts. But yeah, so that's really good too. So I'm feeling very good about my February books. I'm feeling more excited than I was about January. Just all of them just weren't making me excited, but I know once I finish these 2 books, and I like I said, I am enjoying both of these books, but once I finish them, I'll really get into the other books that I have that I'm ooh, I get to read Legends Lattes, I get to read Alpha's Warlock, I get to read Teacher of the Year, I get to read a lot of really great romance novels. So I'm into it and I'm ready for it. But yeah, so that's my little summary. I'm very sorry I didn't film all weekend. Hopefully next week will be better. I feel like I've been saying that a lot, but I feel like I have a genuine reason this time. The other ones I was just lazy or just forgot. This one, it was on my mind, but I'm no, I can't do that. So yeah, so that's it. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, click notification bell, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. We're almost at 100 subscribers, and honestly, that's way more people than I thought would be interested in my little ramblings every week. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys next week where we're really getting into February. So